It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the trip until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day on YouTube, and we simulcast it over at gunchannels.com, where we watch the comments from everybody that's watching the show live. We do appreciate our live viewers. That's the kind of the reason we do this show, is to have the interactivity with the live audience. And then, of course, every once in a while we take the audio and post that on iTunes. We're going to be doing that on a more regular basis, so stay tuned to more, I don't know, incentives or some projects and stuff to get people over on iTunes. It is a platform that's big, so we're going to give it another push to see if we can get some kind of presence over there with listeners. So anyway, we appreciate the efforts of everybody who leaves us comments, likes, subscribes to the different channels on the different platforms. All that effort lets us know you're out there. We do appreciate it. It also should let our show get recommended to more listeners, and that is one of our goals. So we do really appreciate that. We have hosts. We're in the transitional period here. So we've got Bob jumping in from Canada. Thanks for joining.
Hey, glad to be here.
We got Jimmy James coming in from Phoenix. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
Then we got Smeggy in Michigan.
Hey, how's everyone doing today?
And I'm down here in Tucson at the moment. So this is episode number 390. So we're coming up on episode 400. It's a Friday, so we're going to talk tech. We'll talk biz, and we'll talk alt. So we're going to be talking the Glock mods in the gun tech segment of the show. We'll talk about the FFLs again in the gun biz, and the alternate topic for this week is precious metals for gun guys. And we do things like a gun shop of the day, movie of the day, gun of the day, and all that other fun stuff. Before we dig in, though, we always take a break at the beginning of the show, see if anything happened overnight. Yesterday was DanO's the big show for DanO's last show, and then all of us stuck around BSing for a long, long time, so I missed everything last night. That was Matt's show, right? Today's Thursday? Or today's Friday. That was Thursday. I think I was there for Clover's, but I missed some middle stuff there. Well, I guess you guys were in here chatting with me. Yeah. So did you guys hear about anything that happened last night on the shows? Tech Daddy had a show. I guess Yankee had a show. Like I said, Clover Tech had a show. I was in that show, so it was pretty good.
And say I didn't hear about anything. Maybe our listeners can suggest something, but yeah, nothing gun related in the news that I saw. So I guess same old, same old.
Yeah, I didn't hear nothing.
Well, that's fine. We're not really.
No, I wasn't paying super attention.
We're not really
just happy to be home.
Right on. We're not really a news show. We're a gun talk show, right? And when we talk about what happened overnight, it kind of got into a habit of being what was in the news. I guess when newsworthy stuff happens, that becomes sort of the time when we talk about that. But I think the reason we shoved it in the beginning of the show, that kind of talk, is because we're not trying to follow the agenda-based media outlets, version of what's going on out there. So I don't have a problem if we don't keep track of actual news events. But I'm kind of I'm always interested in what's going on with videos and stuff. I know Yankee's been out there complaining about the Glock 5, both looks and feel and everything, and the fact that they made it, I guess, right? And getting all kinds of controversy, stirred up. Amazing. Yankees getting controversy stirred up. Who would have thought?
Never.
Yeah, that's kind of something new, isn't it?
So, and just going back to something you said about the news thing, I always try to just point out a gun-related news, and that's one of the things during the summer, all the lawmakers and stuff are on vacation and whatnot. So that can be a good thing. No bad laws are being passed, and but unfortunately, no good laws are going through either. So.
What I've been noticing is it's a lot of beating on the chest. Like, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do when we get back. This is the most important thing that has to be on the agenda when we get back. So now is their time to just get up and yell about what, we should.
I saw something a little bit ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, but they're going to try and do they're copying California and do micro stamping nationwide, and basically saying no gun can be manufactured or sold that doesn't have micro stamping technology. And since that doesn't exist, that basically means no more guns ever. And I don't see that going through. But a fight's always a fight. So wait for them to get back in session and fight that one too.
Yeah, that one shouldn't be that hard to fight, though, if they actually don't have
Well,
the
they tricked a couple states with it. I mean, like I said, California's got it, and so does crap, what is it, Massachusetts or something? Somewhere over there in the east, they have a micro stamping thing. So if states can fall for it, I guess nationwide could fall for it.
But nobody actually makes a gun that does it, right?
That's correct.
It's not possible. It's not possible. And if you could make a thing fine enough, a tool fine enough, then how many rounds does it last? I mean, things, that are tiny break easily, so they start to wear out.
That's what I mean. There's so many like variables in that, and then aside from all that, it wouldn't be above a criminal, I'm pretty sure, to file that off, or however, I'm sure they can figure out a way to
get rid of serial numbers. They certainly can get rid of a laser etched, fraction of a millimeter serial number.
You guys are forgetting that would be against the law.
That's true. We all know.
Oh yeah, all criminals follow the law. I forgot. Yeah.
Did you guys see? I think it was Matt Best or whatever his company is, and he's getting robbed in his house, and they're like, "Oh, is that an AR-15 with an adjustable stock?" and blah blah blah. Like, those guns are not legal in California. And I mean, the line of the video, the dude goes, "Oh man, it is so hard to be a law-abiding criminal." I think that's like the title of the video. Type in law-abiding criminal in YouTube, you'll find it. It's a funny video. Anyways,
it's fun. Well, I guess we haven't even started the show, right? So why don't we start since we started late? Unless you guys had something else to talk about.
No, let's roll.
I got to get to this first break. Well, I'm not even gonna wait till the first break. I don't see Clay out there on the gun channel side. So if you are on the YouTube side and you're not able to comment, then let me know on the gun channel side, because I'm not seeing his comments out there. Or if you are out there just not saying anything, shout out. I just noticed we had a little thing yesterday. I want to make sure you're able to chat over there. Anyway, so then the first topic today is Glock mods. We even need to talk about this. This isn't really all that controversial. It's not a really big thing. Everybody's pretty much on track with this.
Yeah, I mean, the best mod is turn it in and get a CZ. Mod complete.
Browning high power.
I honestly, I have no idea what's out there for Glocks. I mean, I've seen people with different barrels and they cut their slide all different and do whatever, but I don't know any specifics. I don't pay attention to that.
Well, for those of us who don't really care for 1911 knockoffs,
oh, shut up, Jimmy! Don't you start that.
I mean, you got the trigger. Trigger usually always needs to be done. And when they say Glock perfection, it's not because it's perfect. It's because you can make it perfect. That's how I take it anyway. So, I mean, trigger sights, whatever. Some people like the plastic sights and don't even take them out. So, there you go.
Yeah, I don't understand if they market themselves as being perfect, why would there even be mods for them?
Well, it's not perfection necessarily out of the box, but the opportunity to become perfection to the user.
Well,
it sounds like a Harley Davidson.
Well, that's one of the things is, I mean, as far as mods go, some of it is just personal preference. Some of it even aesthetic. Maybe someone likes to, whatever, add the little flare and the little back plate and all the different stuff or whatever. Some of it's functional, but it would be a mistake not to mention that basically Glock is one of the most aftermarket parts available because it is such a popular gun and there are so many companies that make stuff for it. So if you just want to be a little different or, whatever your taste is different from other people, there's plenty of opportunity to customize your gun and make it your own.
Yeah, or you could just buy a Browning high power and then you don't have to do anything because it's perfect.
Yeah, so that's only gonna be your answer. So I think I don't agree with Jimmy, but there definitely are a lot of modifications for a Glock because they were solid gold. They're the gold standard. They've been a solid, dependable, for the most part, consistent model. So the same things that people are now complaining about with the Gen 5, that there's not enough changes. Then if a gun changes every single year or whatever amount of time, then is it even the same gun anymore? So I don't know of any guns that change their look. Does any model of gun change its look? I guess some manufacturers will come out with different models or multiple models of different styles or whatever. Glock does just do striker fire, basically the same kind of design all the time. But anyway, I think the reason it's got so many aftermarket parts is because it was just plentiful, and it was consistently good. It worked, and obviously their marketing, or their, what do you want to call, is it marketing, or would you call it just distribution to police officers and law enforcement agencies, was to be marveled or to be emulated. They did an excellent job of getting it out there, and when you have everybody who uses them at work, I think it's a lot like a Chevy truck or a Ford truck, right, or a Dodge truck. If that's your fleet vehicle at work, and it works for you and you're comfortable with it, chances are you might buy one for at home, for going to the lake or for dragging stuff around, right? So I think, because it was so common and because it's so solid, it just became, if you're going to make a new product, it became the gun to make your new product for. And also because so many people owned it. You get into some other guns and they have variables, they don't just have the one model. So it's a lot easier to make products for a Glock first. And since it's got a big market, I don't think that was engineered. I just think that was a happenstance. The same way there might be a lot more products available for a Toyota pickup or a Ford 150 pickup than there are for, even the most common Dodge or the most common Chevy. Well, maybe not Chevy, but you know what I mean, with Nissan or something.
Oh, exactly. And that's, going to the truck thing. Just because you modify your F-150 doesn't mean the thing doesn't work from the dealership. It just means maybe you want some extra lights or a different grill or, some chrome, this, that, or the other.
So that's actually the perfect response to these people that think they got something on people by saying Glock perfection. I mean, Glock put their foot in their mouth by using that word, because that word obviously has one meaning. But everybody thinks they're clever by saying, oh, if it's so perfect, why do you modify it? Then you're telling me you buy your computer and you leave it sitting there with the desktop the way it came from the factory. It has the Windows default desktop on it. When you buy your car, you don't put anything new on your car, like nothing. It's like, as you get it from the factory, you drive it around that way. Please, we're people who are individuals, and for one thing, you want to differentiate your product from everybody else's, right? Just so you can find it at the range or in the pile or something in a parking lot. But also so that it can be ergonomically more comfortable for you. What if you don't like the steering wheel on your Ford, but you like every other thing about it? It's still a perfect truck for you, but you put a steering wheel pad on it or something. Or maybe the radio. Oh, this is a great truck, except I want XYZ out of my radio. You change the radio. Does that mean you don't appreciate that truck anymore?
Well, and the most important mod for any vehicle is a gun channels decal on the back. Just going to put that out there.
You see, you say that. Then what happens is, let's say you're busy and you've got to get somewhere, and you go out to your truck and there's all those ladies out there wanting to talk to you and date you. It can be frustrating sometimes. It can be
well, that's why I got the full-size bed, so they can jump in the bed and then I can deal with it after I get to my, fast approaching appointment.
Smeggy lives the Spuds McKenzie / Mountain Dew lifestyle. So anytime he's driving somewhere, there's a bunch of bikini girls in the back screaming and yelling.
Yep.
What's funny is that episode of Futurama is literally on right this second. I'm watching it on mute. I'm drinking Mountain Dew, watching the Slurm episode, and you're talking about it.
Hunter asked if I ever made the gun channels decals that stick on the inside of the glass. I actually totally forgot about that, but I almost never make decals. But I am going to be trying to effort with some of that stuff. And I seen that Hash Tactical has somehow she has a decal that looks like it went through I don't know, wash machine or something and shrunk, so it's all warped and deformed. She claims I gave it to her, so I'm gonna send her another one. Unless I was sending her goofy ones or something, 'cause I thought it was cool or something. But it looks like it's a Glock 26 on there. I don't know if you saw her Instagram, or maybe it got more melted in the sun. I thought that plastic is supposed to not melt though. Anyway, so I was thinking I needed to cut up some more of those things eventually, and I will do the opposite one.
Probably had it in her pocket, and the girl as hot as her just melts everything.
It's true, but
Or her giant hands just crushed it.
or the it was on an ammo can though.
But anyways, that doesn't quite have anything to do with Glock mod. Sorry, we went down that rabbit hole.
So I think that Clayton says Glock was the last great firearm innovation. I don't think it was the last one, but it was definitely a massive step. I think you can not like them all you want, but it's irrational to ignore what they've done to the firearm.
It's also not like Glock was the first plastic gun. I mean, come on.
Plastic gun, only two, and most people can't name both of them. So you're wrong. It is the first.
70 and nylon 66. There's two.
No, that's not the same thing. And it's the first plastic gun to get international attention and become as dominant as in both the marketplace and in people's, in the common, what do they say? Like, it's a common word. People call guns Glocks and stuff. So, you can ignore it all you want and deny it, but it's significant as an innovation. And it changed the things as far as media and the way that they're covered. It kind of, invigorated a bunch of writers and storylines and stuff. So they were the ones that ushered us into the plastic firearm realm. And you're right, they've been around a long time before that. But if they were so good, then name anybody who's pointing at the nylon 66 as the innovator of all modern firearms. Maybe if someone nerds out, but the general public, I think, is going to point to the M16 and the Glock.
Well, that's just because the general public doesn't know anything.
So anyway, I think the Glock is the Glock mods that we're talking about are so prevalent, and the reason people, I think, they're so controversial is just there's so many of them. Ask any manufacturer, what do you make this for? Glock 1911, and then a whole bunch of variables. Like then it'll be a bunch of what they like or what that market's looking for or something. But there's ultimately every mod that's out there, right? It's made for a Glock and a 1911 still. Is there anything even close to being as widespread? Holsters?
No, not really.
I mean, even just iconically, when you look at signage and silhouettes and stuff, it's like it's either a revolver or a Beretta, I guess, has still got some popularity, and then that square thing.
Yeah, plastic brick.
And that's the other thing that I think when we talk about mods, you guys are talking about accessories a lot. I think that's what we've been talking about. But mods, like modifications, engraving that slide, you got a square slide for one. So I don't know, take a look at a Smith, or what is it? The Smith & Wesson also is not a square. It's the M&P slides are crazy. They got a step in them. What is it thing? The Springfield Armory ones are super horrible. They're stepped. So when it comes time to get your mill and get into the business of machining or something, lot less time to get into a Glock slide and start screwing with it and start playing with it and chopping metal off of it. And I don't know enough about removing metal off of slides, but just my layman's eyes, it seems like there's a lot of metal on a Glock slide to remove, where some of those other slides are so already slimlined that you can engrave them, but I don't think you really want to remove too much of it.
So in other words, they've already done work that you would do at the factory.
No. Does any firearm that goes to military and police engraved and done fancy? No. So, no. Well, okay, you can deny it, but go ahead and tell us, except for 1911, which is definitely hands down long-term more modular than any Glock. Except for 1911, name something that's even in the running for physical modifications. even your fancy metal guns, which need modifications because they're not, need, machined modifications because you can't do them at home.
Unless you got your own mill.
And you want to risk it, but still, name a gun that has mods made to it. 1911s and Glocks, that's about it.
Oh, come on. When you look at all the pistols that used to be used in practical police courses and stuff like that, those things were modded all to hell back in the 70s. So, I mean, people have been modding guns forever.
1911s, though. Did they mod it?
They modded revolvers. There was revolvers that had all kinds of trick shit done to them.
Well, okay, yeah. But again, okay, you're saying revolvers. Now tell me a specific, what, a Model 10, maybe? Maybe?
Yeah, but they were all. I mean, the thing is, they're
Python or a Cobra, because nobody can buy those. They're too expensive.
Well, back then they weren't that expensive, but people have been modding guns forever, right? I don't see a point. I mean, maybe I'm just old school and like I get it and it works, and I mean, yeah, maybe I'll change a set of grips on it but that's aesthetics more than anything. But I guess that is modding it. So I guess I do mod things. But other than that, I just don't do a lot of shit. I don't see the point, really. Like if there's a point to it or something. I mean, I kind of used to, but I kind of got away from it.
Well, I don't know if we're doing anything more than just talking about it. Like, we're not selling you nothing. We don't even care if you like Glocks or if you like 9mm or if you like modifications of guns. We're just here to talk about it. Conversation started. Ideally, people that are listening to this that maybe do their own or their own shows or their own podcasts or whatever it is they're doing, take some of these and run with them. Maybe just have conversations out in the range or at the gun shop or at the gun show tomorrow. Are we good then? Do we solve Glock mods for everyone?
I think so.
I think so too. So why don't we go to Gun Biz and talk about FFLs again? We've done this. This must be the third or fourth time we've talked about FFLs, but it always seems like there's stuff to talk about. And some of these things, even if it's not that there's so much to talk about, I just think it's worth addressing, just in case we got new listeners or people listen to this in the future. As a past show, just to cover something like this. Sometimes it's everyone assumes it's obvious or common knowledge, and people can glean a little info from stuff like this. But before we do, we'd like to feature one of the members over at Gun Channels every day between the first and second segment of the show. Gun Channels is a place we built. It's a community focused on firearms, completely driven by its membership. So because of that, we feature a member each day. And today it's DanO. I don't know why he kept erasing his name out of there, but he can't do it now. So it's DanO. And we were trying to do it last week. He must have been bashful or something. And,
well, I don't think he likes it. I don't think he likes it when people talk about him when he can hear it. He'd rather be talked about him when he can't.
Or you want to be sitting there watching the show to be able to have us talk about him.
That's true. That could be too, yeah.
Son of a bitch. DanO. I don't know. So anyway, he's been around for a long time. I forget. He was one of the earliest members of Gun Channels back in the day. He stuck around since the beginning, which is going on 4 years pretty soon. So always contributed a lot to the conversation. I think he did videos or whatever on YouTube before. I don't keep track of everybody's.
Yeah, no, he does, and he still does the odd one, kind of like me.
Yeah, like more of like, here's what I did, or maybe I have a question about this, so here's what it is.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't think he was ever like, I'm going to be the next big gun channel. He just created videos to satisfy his own interests or to, like, say, have part of an ongoing conversation or something.
Show off a new gun.
Yeah, or ask a question about it. Or, yeah, exactly. So then he did do a live show, though, for a while with, what's his face out of Florida. And what was it, every other Sunday? And that would have been for quite a while. I forget. I remember when he did them. But I thought that was a pretty good show. It was very structured. He spent a lot of time coming up with info from it. So just once a week. Anybody can do that. Once a week shows are for kids. Anyway, he got burnt out on it, and I just don't think he had many people listening. And I had bugged him ever since he quit doing that show to do something more. And I'm glad that he ended up coming on to the Daily Show. I think he contributed a lot. So obviously he was a member here or on the panel here for almost a year. And I imagine he'll still be kicking out there. He's doing some training. He has shown interest in going out and doing the training, and been doing all kinds of cardio, I guess you'd call it, going to the gym and walking on this machine, and getting himself in shape so that he gets, enjoys the training even more. He can get more out of it, and
you're not as beat up at the end of the day.
Yeah,
you're not tired.
We talked about it yesterday. So anyway, I think he's inspiration for everybody that's out there, doing his thing, sharing it, and then also doing all the other stuff he does in his life. Obviously, he's got a full-time job and, family and everything else he does. So does a lot of volunteer stuff. So anyway, DanO's a hell of a guy. He's definitely the type of person. I didn't know DanO when we did gun channels, or at least not like I do now. But that's definitely the type of individual we built gun channels for. So definitely a good pick for the day after his last day. And I have no idea if it matches with 390, but
yeah. For sure, DanO has been a real asset to the show. He's been a real asset to gun channels. Like he's been around as long as I can remember, right? And I was pretty much in at the start. So yeah, he's pretty much been with us. I think he was even in some chats before we even had gun channels. But yeah, he's always been a fun guy to talk to. Him and I have always had our little tiffs, but yeah, I consider him a good friend, and I'm going to miss him on the show, but I wish him the best in his new adventures, and hopefully we'll see him on the show the odd time for, special guests.
I dropped a seed there yesterday. I'm hoping he'll find time, and we'll talk about other stuff that's changing, but hopefully he'll find time to jump in and maybe do like State of the State or something, or a quiz once in a while or something like that. Maybe he could just jump in randomly, do the quiz, and jump out. He might have fun doing something.
Oh, that would be freaky.
So
it would be an ambush.
Yeah, exactly. You could do the answer ambushes.
Who are we talking about?
That guy.
Nah, yeah, DanO's a good guy, man. Over the past year and a half-ish, something like that, had a bunch of good conversations with him. He was great on the show. Had him on the early show a couple of times, more than a couple of times, several times, but a good guy.
All right, now everybody thinks he left on good terms, so we can keep going. The gun biz. What are the FFLs? There's 6 of them. Where are we taking this one? Hello, does mic on? All right, so in 1934, stupid government decided that a few individuals were using Thompson submachine guns and other relics from World War I as murder weapons, or like, they'd wave them around in the streets to gain whatever that, gang presence is, or whatever, to like dominate the other gangsters in the street or whatever. And since there was no television and there was barely radio, right? I guess it was radio, and there was newspapers. People wanted to sell papers and sell radio shows and get people to talk about their city or whatever. So they took what instances there were and they talked about nothing else but. And in 1934, there was such a panic created by all the hype of a few individuals that they decided, I don't know how many people were in the country back then, but I'm guessing it was at least hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, no longer needed the right to own a full auto gun and all these other things. They created the 1934 Gun Control Act and regulated all that stuff. So now there were definitions for guns. Up till then, guns were like forks. Nobody cared about them. Nobody regulated them. They were just things you could call a spoon, a fork. Nobody cared. But now after 1934, there's definitions of all these guns. 1938, 4 years later, they do the other one, the National Firearms Act, and the National. I have to go look it up, so I don't remember that one as easy. But basically, that's the one that created the FFL. So 4 years later, we got this infringement in 1934. 4 years later, they created the FFL system, and since then, we've had to deal with them. In 1968, they established the 4473 and tasked the FFLs with having to record all that stuff. So there are FFLs, a federal firearms licensee. So whenever they decided to restrict I guess in 1968, they decided to say you can't sell guns over state lines. The only people that can sell guns over state lines are these FFLs, these people that are federally licensed with us. So since 1968, we've had these, and I think they probably twisted around a little bit, but right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 of them. They're called types. So we have a type 1, a type 2, a type 3. They're not, it's not like 1 through 9 or something. They skip some numbers. So the type 1 is a gun dealer. Type 2 is the pawn shop. Type 3 is a CNR. So that's one that an individual can get if you wanted to be registered and licensed to collect firearms. That way you are an FFL holder and you can purchase across state lines directly to your house because you're an FFL holder. You're just not one that can then sell them. You're a collector, so you have to hold on to them. Then we've got the type 6 is a manufacturer of ammunition. A type 7 is a manufacturer of SOT, so that's NFA items, the short items and the full auto and that kind of fun stuff. Number 8 is an importer of items. And then 9 and 10 are the dealer and manufacturer. Oh, and then there's another one, type 11, importer of destructive devices. So destructive devices are your armor-piercing ammunition and your grenades and your like projectiles that have explosive in them, and then anything over 50. So basically anything over a ½ inch. So that's the FFLs.
So those 20 millimeter single shot or semi-automatic rifles, those are, like anti-tank rifles. Those are actually considered AOLs.
Destructive.
Got mail?
AOL is thing. AOW is
AOW.
Yeah, AOW is one of the firearms.
All other weapons.
No, dude, an AOW is any other weapon. So there's full auto, there's shotgun, there's no, there's not. There is rifle, there's pistol, there's full auto, and then there's destructive device, and then there's any other weapon. Okay, so somehow they also added firearm into there for things that don't fall into any of those definitions, because the idiot representatives who wrote the laws back in 1934 did them poorly. Like very many laws, in fact most of the firearms laws, there was gaps, there was places where they didn't overlap and touch everything, so there's places in between that are not defined, thus they can only be defined as firearm since they aren't specifically defined as one of the other things. But anyway, AOW was supposed to be a placeholder for everything that didn't fall into one of those others. When we're talking about destructive devices, we're talking about, again, projectiles, mostly projectiles that explode, projectiles that are really big, projectiles that are grenades, basically grenades, and then missiles and mortars and that kind of thing, and anything like rocket launchers, 40 millimeter, grenade launcher, be a destructive device.
Okay.
So anyway, there's specific FFLs for destructive devices, and I imagine that's because they're going to have a lot of explosives and stuff hanging around, and all kinds of probably elaborate procedures to keep them, from exploding everything around them. So I imagine they also have more regulation, so they separated them.
And just like the ammo manufacturer, right? Because they're probably dealing with primers and powder, and so they have to go through some different stuff.
I tend to think that your ammo manufacturer is also separated because you're not like a gun shop. I'm making ammo right here, because it doesn't lend well. You're not going to be a range and an ammo shop typically right next to each other, right? So most of the time when they're doing big scale production of ammo, it's in a separate, dedicated facility, or even dedicated company. Not too many companies.
So that makes me wonder, because there's a range I go to that, it's a gun store and a range, but they sell their own reload ammo. Oh yeah, and that's why they're kind of like brass hawks. They get all cranky if you pick up too much brass. they'll let you pick up your own, but God forbid you sweep up like anything that's near you. They get all cranky, and it's because they do it themselves and sell it. So I bet you they have the FFL for being just a regular gun store. Then they also have the FFL for being an ammo manufacturer.
You're right. And as I was saying that, I thought of one here in Tucson that used to be the same way, and then one that we passed in New Mexico that had a big ammunition, well, it wasn't a range, but it had an ammunition thing in it too. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just did it, like you say, because they're going to have a bunch of black powder potentially or gunpowder laying around. I think it's interesting that we have a level of FFL, level of license for collectors. People think of the FFL system as for manufacturers, importers, sellers, but people don't usually think about that one. I think it's because there are so few CNR holders. There's not that many people that take advantage of it, and I don't know. I think that's really it. There's no advocate for it. Nobody makes money being a CNR, so there's like nobody out there to like shout its praises. I'm assuming CN Arsenal is a CNR holder.
I would assume so, yeah.
He doesn't talk about it or make a big deal about it on the show.
He definitely has a lot of those types of guns, but I mean, it doesn't mean you have to. I mean, I think basically the only advantage is you can have like the CNR guns, which are basically old guns. You can have them shipped to you. You don't have to, go through a gun store or whatever to get them.
You can get them at the door or something like that, right?
Mailed right to your door, almost like living in Canada.
But again, only for the ones that qualify for that specific thing. So I don't know. Maybe that's a good enough advantage that people will get it and jump through some extra hoops, because I'm sure you have to go through more stuff to get that than if you're just a regular person going into a store and just buy one. But
all right, so we're talking about FFLs, and Cycle Camp is saying that it's the NFA is the National Firearms Act. Everybody remembers that because we repealed the NFA, right? FFA, Federal Firearms Act. That's why I always mix them up. National Firearms Act, 1934. Federal Firearms Act, 1938. So they made them sound and look right next to each other. The Federal Firearms Act of 1938 is the one I was thinking of. It imposed a license requirement on gun manufacturers, importers, and persons in the business of selling firearms. The term federal firearms license refers to those who had a requirement imposed by the Federal Firearms Act. That Federal Firearms Act imposed a license, so that's a federal firearms license. In addition to the licensing component of the FFA, the law required licensees to maintain customer records and made it illegal to transfer firearms to certain classes of persons, such as convicted felons. These classes of persons are commonly referred to as prohibited persons. And then it'll say the FFA was repealed by the Gun Control Act of 1968, although many of its provisions were reenacted as part of the Gun Control Act, which revised the FFA and its predecessor, the 1934. So the 1934 NFA became Title II of our National Firearms Act, even though there was no anything before. There was just the NFA. It became Title II of our new federal firearms laws in 1968, and the Gun Control Act became Title I. So stupid Title I says who can own guns, and stupid Title II says what the definitions of guns are. And the FFA was from 1938 until 1968. So that was 30 years of infringement that basically dicked around with gun owners and manufacturers. That's what required serial numbers and all that. So that's why we had no crime between 1938 and 1968. Oh, wait, we did. So, in fact, it went way up. So it had nothing to do with...
And is 68 pretty much still just 68 continued 38. They just kind of wrapped it up inside there.
Oh, no, you're right. But they also infringed with the 4473 and some other stuff. So
right, they picked it up, added to it, and then wrapped in some other crap.
Yeah, definitely added to it. That's the thing. But they did keep the FFL system from it. So anyway, and I don't know what Psycho was saying, but I'm going to go back and look at the notes, or the text here. But yeah, I think that's a important one to look at. I don't see it very often addressed. And I really think it's important for somebody to go back and take a look at the National Firearms Act of 1934. It's completely ignored. We take it all as, what do they call it, gospel, or as, what's the other word for that? Like, as law, like it's Like it's just there. We all assume that there is
Written in stone.
Yeah, so like that's not the case. I really do think, especially after watching all of that Ken Burns thing, that somebody could put some scrutiny on the 1934 and show how it was engineered. It was the first of the commies' influence over here, and it was an attempt, a successful attempt by the commies, who were beginning back then and trying to start shit, an attempt to screw with us and to chisel away at individual freedom and liberty. So I don't know if that would do anything, but I think that it would at least inspire some people to get up off their ass and look at history as not just given, like that. There's things that, we see things all the time as they discover more and more about history, or somebody with a more, what would you say, more middle of the road opinion of something will come in and take a look at the same quote unquote facts and give you a whole different light on something that we all thought was good to go. Like Columbus, talking about that the other day.
Look at how the like 34 of the commies were like, let's restrict gun rights, right? Now what are they working on? Freedom of speech, right? That's their big protest now is, oh yeah, you can't say things that hurt my feelings. That's freedom of speech, and that's basically commie backed. We let them take one step, and next thing you know, they're climbing up our face.
Yeah, well, that was a good point. Is talking about the 34, and that's similarly anyone that has bought a gun like recently and is younger, they just assume like 4473s. That's a thing you have to do. Like, yep, only certain people are allowed to sell guns. That's a thing that needs to be done. Like that's how it works. And I know you've made a case before of, when people talk about expanded background checks, and you talked about just background checks in general. And I think that is worthy to, reevaluate and look into stuff and say, did it work? Are there unintended consequences? And what's the cost of doing it? And if the benefits don't outweigh the cost, then stop doing it.
Right. All right. So, Bob don't have no rights. You ain't American. You all agree?
That is a true statement.
Very well said. All right. So, looks like we killed the gun channel side. On the YouTube side, I forgot who brought it up in here. Steadily was mentioning something I saw on Instagram earlier today. Dragon Man, the guy with the big gun collection or the gun shop or whatever in Colorado Springs, and his daughter's on Instagram. She posted a thing about a news article that a bunch of his guns were stolen. She said, sorry, she didn't do her podcast last night because a bunch of my dad's guns got stolen. And then I think it's just right in the same post, but we got the guys. It took a couple of hours and everything's good to go. And I was like, great, that's awesome. I mean, it sucks that it happened, but it's good that it was resolved. And now I'm wondering if the news media is going to follow up with that and say, nothing to fear. Everybody acted responsibly, and these people are now facing consequences for their criminal actions. Or are they just going to let the story go and let everyone who reads that story, only the one side of it, the one at the beginning of it, just let them assume that there's a bunch of guns out there, thanks to some gun owner and a few criminals.
Right. And therefore bringing up the whole, like, why do you need an arsenal? Like, you're just asking for trouble and all this other crap. And I've seen that before of like, if you have a bunch of guns, well, you're just, a bigger target for criminals, and you're just going to arm more criminals. Like, why do you need more than one type or something like that? That type of crap.
Yeah, I haven't seen any negativity like that, but I have kind of not been following the story, but I've been, seeing it a couple days here and there. I haven't seen anything super negative like that, but I haven't seen anything positive either, like it was recovered or anything. So I don't think they will.
It's just weird if the things were stolen and then the guys were caught a couple hours later, how the news story was already out that the stuff was stolen. Like, so it had just happened, and they had a news story, popped out first thing. And like
exactly.
You said, did they release one 2 hours later saying, okay, we caught the guys, like, good job for the police?
Yeah, in other words, when you write the story 2 hours after the incident, there's no possible way you could report on the conclusion because it hasn't concluded yet. Like, it couldn't have concluded yet.
But the fact that they felt it was breaking news worthy enough to write it as soon as it happened. Because if they would have wrote that story 3 hours later, then they would have already known that, the stuff was taken care of and the guys were caught.
So do you think it's because they were in Colorado and there's a bunch of potheads and they were fiending for their marijuana?
Probably not.
Yeah,
if I had to guess.
they can just.
That's what happened, but then they also got caught because they all forgot what they were doing and got caught like sitting there eating marshmallows or something next to all those guns.
They were like, hey, remember that idea we had yesterday of stealing all those guns? Like, let's go do that. They forgot they already did it, so they showed up with their masks and their crowbars, and the cops were there taking the report.
They look just like,
oh man, we were gonna break into this place.
Damn.
All right. Well, you're welcome. We talked about FFLs again. If you have an FFL, like one of those CNRs, or if you have an FFL, like an importer license or a manufacturer license, or you're a gun shop, or you manufacture or import or something destructive devices, and you'd like to be on the show and talk about that, it'd be great. So let us know. You can contact the show at dailygunshow@gmail.com. And anytime you want to be, if you've got something to add to one of these topics, we don't cover them once and then that's it. We cover them because we're trying to start conversation. So if there's more conversation to be had, chime in and we'll have you on and we'll, talk about whatever it is we missed.
Yeah, you just made me remember something that my buddy was gonna get an FFL, and he got like halfway through the process and he ended up changing his mind and not getting it. And that might be an interesting conversation of what he had to do and then what his reasonings were and what his logic was of, deciding not to run an FFL out of his own house. Because that's what he was going to do, just out of his own, not have a store or anything, just his own house, do transfers, that kind of thing. And I'll try and wrangle him in and maybe I can get him on the show.
Yeah, be cool, man.
He signed up for gun channels. He's just never on because he's like busy with family and crap. But I bug him all the time about it. So
yeah, I know. Family always gets in the way.
Yeah, they're annoying. Anyways, what's the next thing we're going to talk about?
I don't know, Smeggy. What would you like to talk about?
I think it'll be the next topic. Why don't we do a gun shop of the day? Who wants to do a gun shop of the day? Who was at the gun shop most recently?
We did Scottsdale Gun Club yesterday, I think.
Yep. Anybody at gun shop yesterday? Day before that, etc.
I haven't been to a gun shop in, I'll bet you, a month.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me as well.
But I haven't gone anywhere for,
I don't want to talk about too many of the shops that we just went to because I'd rather present them, right? To get some photos up and make a video or something so we can just, do that. So instead, I think we'll talk about, let's go backwards then and talk about what's the farthest.
The farthest you've traveled for a gun shop?
Okay. To go to a gun shop? Let's make that the topic. How far have you driven to a gun shop for something, like gun that they had or something like that? Specifically to that gun shop, though. Not like, I had to go 3 hours over and I went to a gun shop. Like you drove there for that gun shop.
2 hours.
Now, is that because you're in Canada and there's like your gun shop, or the other one is 2 hours away? Or is it like...
the other one was 2 hours away, yeah. It was like I had to go to the next city.
But you needed something there and that you had to go, that would suck.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to have to go back to Wyoming then, because I think that's probably the same thing that went like for me, because I'm thinking there's probably been stuff that I wanted or whatever, but I wouldn't go to Phoenix for it. I would wait until I had to go to Phoenix. But back when I was in Wyoming, there was times when you need something, you ain't got nothing else. You got to go to another town. There was no internet, nothing back then. There was FedEx, I guess, but you had no way to tell people you needed stuff. So you had places to get it. So I think that was probably it. And that was probably for something really stupid, like ammo or something stupid. Just that when you have a little town, you only have like 5 things. You got to go to the other little town and see if their 6 things are one of the things you need. I think I needed something for lever action one time. Yeah, drive all around.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, you know, it was the small shop in my town didn't have it, so I had to drive to the bigger city where they had, you know, bigger shops where I knew I'd be able to get it. But, you know.
Yeah, there's like been times in my local place is like super expensive, or they don't have the exact ammo I'm looking for, so I had to drive like an hour to Phoenix. I think it was Ace Hardware.
As far as going places to, like, because I need something, I've never really driven that far. I mean, I got 3 shops that are 10 minutes away from my house. So normally I'm pretty good on that.
You're basically spoiled.
Well, I mean, it's in the city. There's a bunch of stuff around, you know. It's not just a one-horse town.
City slicker.
But anyway, I did drive to Indiana to a gun shop to meet up with someone.
Well, there you go. Let's go into a gun shop. I mean, I guess we did. Did we stipulate to buy something? We just said to have to go to that gun shop.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was I go hang out with yesterday. Well, it ended up actually falling through, so I hung out there by myself. But I was gonna try and meet up with them. Yeah, and that was that. Oh, I got Bass and Buck in some weird ass town in Indiana near Kokomo.
See, but that's the thing. Isn't every town in Indiana weird ass? So that's not much of a.
That's true. But I mean, this was literally, I mean, the place is like just next to a couple of farms. Like, it's not like a city or anything really. I guess there's a city nearby or something, but I was trying to follow my GPS driving through like people's cornfields. I'm like, I guess this is a road. And then sure enough, the sign was there and everything. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going the right direction.
Well, I don't know.
Cool shop though, by the way. If you ever are in the middle of cornfields, Bass and Buck is pretty. They have a huge archery thing, as well as a pretty nice firearm shop. They have an indoor and outdoor archery, and a outdoor shooting range.
Yeah, you might need in case a whole bunch of pale skinned, white haired children start coming out of the corn.
I never saw that movie, I don't think. I'm talking about that horror movie from like a long time ago.
Yeah, I never saw it either, but I remember the previews.
So that
Village of the Damned or Children of the Damned or something?
Something like that. Children of the
Corn.
Corn.
Children of the Corn.
No, he's talking about the one with Christopher Reeves where the kids had white hair. I don't know. We're getting off topic.
Yeah, again. Thanks, Eddie.
I am not held responsible for your craziness.
No, you're the one talking about cornfields.
It's one of Bob's training words.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is my fault for mentioning
If you go to
thing that exists in the world, therefore sparking Bob's imagination and sidetracking him.
Yeah, if you go to the far right tab on the spreadsheet, it's things that exist in the world that trigger Bob. If you read, like,
I didn't know they
100
made
of them a night,
spreadsheets big enough.
yeah, if you read 100 a night, you can get through it in a few weeks.
So,
All right. I was going to say that whatever you were saying about that shop, that made me think about gun shops that are in people's houses. Because I think I'm going to do that on Monday since it's the holiday. And that way, I don't know, I just think that'd be interesting to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Not just like in a house, because there's plenty of gun shops that are gun shops and then they converted a house into one. But I'm saying like you go into the guy's living room and maybe his FFL is there, but sometimes it's more elaborate than that. Like you go into his back room or something, and then it's like a little.
yeah, that's my FFL that I get all my transfers through. It's in his basement, little office.
My first
basement.
I think it was my first gun online and my first AK that I bought. No, it was just my first AK that I bought online, and then my first gun I bought online was an AK. So then that was at a guy who's a firefighter, and it was just at his kitchen table. So he had no even like special room or whatever. I bought a couple from guys that had like a different room, and one guy converted his garage. So anyway, now we're talking about it, but we'll talk about that on Monday. So if people have ideas for that, or I want to send in pictures or something, maybe you've taken pictures of a gun shop like that. That's the kind of place to take pictures of. You know why? Because if they turn into the biggest gun shop in town with 6 locations one day, You're the guy that has a picture of them when they were still in the living room. It's kind of neat.
Although I wouldn't be surprised if someone might be a little more hesitant to allow you to take pictures in a situation like that.
I don't know. It's a good point, but you always want to ask.
Oh yeah, that's because most gun shops are fine, but there's even some like regular like building gun shops that are hesitant of you taking pictures. And I'd imagine if it's some dude's house, they wouldn't want you. I wouldn't. If I had an FFL, I wouldn't let people take pictures of my living room. But that's just because it's so awesome.
Tony's saying one of the best finds he ever found was in a basement gun shop. Exactly, because those kind of places don't usually get a ton of rollover. Like the stuff can sit there for a bit, and then if somebody comes in there, they're looking for one thing. They're ignoring the other things. They're just ignoring them completely. So, you got some real possibility.
Yep.
Cam says his loop of gun shops in Connecticut is like 150 to 200 miles. Tony's saying more gun places within 20 miles than he can count, and that's sort of where I'm at, except I can count at 16. Jimmy has way more. Jimmy has that would be a tough one to count. By the time you got done counting gun shops in Phoenix, like one of them went out of business and 2 more started.
Oh yeah. They're everywhere out here. You can trip and fall in a gun shop.
Yeah. I'm always like, dang it.
Is that because there's just more criminals in Phoenix, or what?
Pretty much.
Yeah, Phoenix is a bit sketchy.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah, I know.
I had to pull a night strike on that one. I didn't want our audience to think that I was anti-gun or anything.
Gary's saying he's in a town of just over 1,000 people and has 2 gun shops within a mile. That's pretty cool. And then I'm going to go over to gun channels or the YouTube side, see if I've seen everything over there. Still, you brought up also, have we discussed the Bar Association asking states to adopt gun confiscation laws? So that's worth talking about, but I'm going to say, are we done with the FFL thing then?
I think so. Just one. Well, yeah, we're done with FFL. We were already on gun shop of the day, but I was going to mention something as far as driving. There is a gun shop in Traverse City, which is like northern Michigan, and it's the amidst the noise dude always talks about it, and I want to check that out. So that's one of those like
I'm thinking California.
Well, who the hell am I thinking of?
I don't know. I thought Amidst the Noise was in California. The guy with the like black background, and he did like 1 or 2 videos back in 13. And he was like really rational, well thought out, like kind of hipster for the
dude I'm thinking of? I thought he was in Michigan. I don't know. There's somebody in Michigan that I'm gonna check out the Traverse City thing.
Are you thinking of Roger Moore?
No.
Michael Moore?
Oh, I'm certainly not thinking of that lard. He is from Michigan, unfortunately.
I thought you liked him.
I thought you grew up with him.
What? What's going on? There's way too much fake news. Let's move on.
You live in Michigan. He lives in Michigan. What else is we going to do?
Well, I mean, yeah, I know him, but it doesn't mean that I grew up with him. I mean, because he's my next door neighbor.
All right, well,
he was a lot older. He was that creepy uncle in the backyard.
So, so then we'll go to the next topic. I think we are done with the gun shop of the day. We will talk about the small shops in the houses next week, and maybe feature gun shops that are in houses all next week. I think of that. But anyway, I like that idea of talking about this bar association plea to adopt the California laws, right? Or is it, you're saying gun confiscation laws? What's that about? I thought it was adopt some California law. Maybe I read it wrong. You guys read anything about that though?
Is that the where 20 other states? It was a Bloomberg sponsored bill, and I guess it's up for legislation in 20 other states. That was the one in Oregon, where I guess an officer or someone related to you can report you, and they can come and confiscate your guns.
Okay, I've heard of that confiscation bill, and that did get passed, right?
Yeah, and then apparently it's Bloomberg sponsored, and he put it around the 20 different states, so it's up for legislature. So I mean, there's some that I don't even think have looked at it yet.
Okay, so the Bar Association is out there as a pawn of Bloomberg championing these other states to do what Oregon succumbed to.
From what I understand, yes.
Okay, stupid Oregon. I'm getting so sick of freaking Oregon. Number one, they're goofy as shit, right? They're weird, and that's fine. Go be weird or whatever. I'm all about it. But what are they letting all this stupid gun control shit happen to them? They're supposed to be like hardcore individualists, and they're just getting wailed on with gun control. Can't stand it. It's frustrating. California, you kind of expect it. Oregon, come on, shape up there.
Yeah, get your stuff together.
Well, yeah, but don't they have those like a bunch of hipsters and stuff like that going out there now? And I don't know.
Yeah,
You know
I think that's where the lumberjack shirts and shit come from. But they're a bunch of skinny little goofs wearing them. It's really weird.
Yeah, that's maybe some people in the cities, but their cities aren't that big, and there's a heck of a lot of rest of the country, rest of the state. I don't know. I think
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if it takes up their voting populace, though, I don't know.
exactly. If you get a bunch of people that want to be on their own and they go beyond their own, then the people that hang out and do whatever they want start bossing everybody else around. They need to just get up and complain about that, kick it down. Or maybe we can boycott them. Let's boycott them.
That always works.
Let's boycott the what are those lumberjack shirts?
Lumberjack shirts?
Oh, I like flannel shirts though. They're so comfy.
Oh, wool shirts are way better. Way more comfy. Way warmer.
They're warmer, but they're itchy. I wouldn't call wool shirts
You just
comfy.
gotta get a satin
Okay.
one.
You can wear the flannel shirts, but as long as they're not skin tight and tied at a knot at the bottom, then they're acceptable.
Oh, well, what the heck? You're going to get your hamstring in me.
Well, unless you're a hot chick. If you're a hot chick, you can wear them that way.
Are you going to see your belly button?
What about tying them around your waist, like, from back in the day? Like, grunge is still popular, right?
When you're thrashing?
Grunge isn't popular snaggy anymore. Grunge was popular for what, about 2 minutes back in
This
the.
is what happens without DanO. Then maybe we do need to just end this show. This is not working. All right, so let's keep moving along. That was the question: was what do we think of it? We think it's bullshit, and the Bar Association is obviously out to get us.
Bunch of jackasses.
Yeah, they want the chaos because they prosper in chaos. So I don't think anybody would ever listen to anything they say or consider them an authority on anything. They're knowledgeable about a little narrow area of necessary, part of whenever you have a civilization, and then they exploit it. So screw them.
Yeah, they usually become lawyers too after they retire, or politicians after they retire from being lawyers.
Well, you look at this. I look at it like this: like
Scrupulous of them.
Well, like say you have a dispute with your neighbor or something, and they know that you're a gun guy, or they know that they've seen you go back and forth shooting. They can call and report you, and you can get your guns confiscated. I don't know. That's how I understand it.
I can imagine you could, let's say you got kids, or not even. Let's say you're a normal dude, and you're just hanging out, minding your business. Your friends come over and say, "Hey, can we use your backyard?" You go, "Sure." And then they're like, "Hey, we're going to film a video for our kids' project or whatever. Can you be a role-playing actor in this scenario that we're going to film for this project for school?" And you say, "Sure." And then in the project, you have to wave your arms or beat a puppy or something or punch a nun in the face. And your neighbor across the way is nosing in on your business and looks over the fence and sees that and videotapes it on a shitty videotape on the phone where it's all goofy, and they show you punching a nun in the face and then kicking a puppy. And then they take that to somebody and go, "This guy's punching nuns and kicking puppies right in the backyard." And then, yeah, they're knocking on your door, and now you're trying to explain that. And then, of course, your friend took off and went to school, edited that video or whatever. Maybe he moved away. Maybe he was in town for the weekend, and now you got to go figure out how to explain all that. Or do they just come take your guns, and then you got to explain all that? Yeah, it just seems like...
That's the way it works, by the way. That's you're guilty till proven innocent on that.
Yeah, they're taking them guns, yeah.
So should it be the same for cars? Like, that guy doesn't seem rational. Should he be behind the wheel of a vehicle like that? And he's acting like that? Should that guy be able to carry around, walk around with that pit bull? The vicious
That'd be
animal.
about 50% of the people stuck in the traffic jam would lose their cars.
Well, but you echo chamber and preaching choirs here, but yeah, that's something we're against. And
Possibly we can talk about it tomorrow on Every Second Matters.
maybe we should put some effort into getting together on the second day of the month for the last 4 years and talk about Second Amendment related things. Maybe this month being the last month before the Gun Rights Policy Conference next month. Yeah, we could bring up subjects like this one and others. But I'm glad we talked about that because it is the first, and obviously tomorrow is the second. We'll be talking about things like that. If you want to be part of it, feel free. It's just a conversation that we have on the second day of the month. There's a website to help keep our conversations useful and productive so that we don't just talk about it and it goes into the wind and through your ears and out the other and gone. There's something where you can find links. There's some place where you can use as a resource throughout the month. I'll be using that when I go to the Gun Rights Policy Conference. It's in October in Dallas on October 1st, that weekend. Highly encourage you to go there. We'll be using the Every Second Matters website as a point of reference to try to encourage the gun owners' rights groups and their members, the people that are active in the community, to use it the same way they use the Gun Rights Policy Conference, only instead of once a year, use it anytime they want. It's completely free of charge. It was a fundraising. Actually, there was never any fundraising. I just put it on a credit card and ate it. So there's no cost to join. There's no memberships or nothing. If you want to support it, there are patches that I bought that if you buy them, I charge you more than I paid for them. And that's how I'm going to hopefully get my money back one day. But if that doesn't happen, then, it's an effort. So it's completely free to check it out. I encourage you to check out, at least, if nothing else, go to check out if the organization's portion. And if your favorite organization isn't there, post it. It's completely free to do. And thanks for bringing that up, Smeggy. So yeah, we probably will talk about it tomorrow if you or somebody else brings it up, because I don't think I'm going to have time to do too much prep for the show tomorrow. As far as that kind of stuff. Anybody's welcome to join the Every Second Matters chat. I'm not sure what time we'll do it. And actually, I guess we should figure it out. I can only do it. Oh, no, I can do it anytime. Tomorrow's a Saturday. I'm thinking tomorrow was Friday for some reason. So what time do you guys want to do it?
It's up to you, man.
It's up to Smeggy. I got all day, so whenever Smeggy's got time.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what all my plans are, but probably afternoonish. I know that's not super.
Well, if we say
locked in,
noon,
but
if we say noon Eastern, that's 11 your time. Would that work?
well, noon Eastern would be noon my time, but that's possible. I may be awake by then.
Okay. Well, so let's plan on noon tomorrow, and that'll be Every Second Matters. Thanks again for mentioning that. Should we go on to the third topic? Should we go on to the gun of the day? Should we go, which could even not even be a thing because Bob just wrote 2 words in there. Or do we want to go on to gun history or something else?
That's a real gun.
It's 2 words.
Yeah.
Let's do the gun because now I'm interested. I don't remember what it was.
Okay, it's the Union pistol.
That's 1 word.
It's the Union pistol, right? And it's a French, very similar to the Ruby pistol, but it's made by France. It was made for military use. Now, here's the coolest thing about it. Look at that magazine.
This one. I remember this one.
Yeah. Is that a cool looking magazine or what?
Yeah, I think that's
And that actually came, you could get that full auto.
Yeah, I think that thing's super awesome, actually. I don't know why they didn't keep up with that. I don't remember if it was double stack or not, but can you imagine something like that in double stack?
Yeah, I think it was only about a 30 round magazine, but it was still pretty impressive.
Heck yeah. Or that in a quad stack. So that could be like 100 rounds or something and make the curve a little less. Anyway, I think that thing was kind of neat. I don't like the gun part, but I definitely like that mag. I've seen that a couple of times.
Well, it's 32 ACP, so I mean, that's a caliber that, of course, John Browning developed.
It's a little gun then.
Yeah.
It looks like a little 1911. Did Browning?
Kinda. Well, it's a ripoff of Browning's design, right?
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
As I was gonna say, I wonder if because when I see that mag, it makes me think like, reliability issues or something, just because it seems kind of odd. It might be hard to work, but that's also like, if they would have stuck with it, maybe they would have developed something that worked better. So
Well, they
I'm
did
not saying that
sell.
that didn't work, 'cause I don't know,
Yeah.
but
They did.
It's not work.
No, it worked. Yeah, they sold a fair number to the Chinese. The Chinese were crazy for any kind of full auto pistol. They loved them. It also came with its own loading magazine tool, magazine loading tool.
I wonder if that's because the communist Chinese killed so many millions of people that it was just tiring to hold a rifle to kill that many people, so they wanted a more economical.
Oh, it could have been, yeah. Plus the ammo was cheaper, right? Less powder, all that. But yeah, very interesting little pistol, and apparently, from what I can read about it, and that it was a good functioning pistol. It was, basic little 32 ACP blowback. But like I say, they did make them with these big magazines. You could get these big magazines with just a semi-auto, but you could also get it with a full auto, which of course was for military use. So yeah, really quite interesting, and not a high-tech design at all. It was, like I say, it's an old Browning design that was originally copied by the Spanish, and then the French ended up copying it too. But yeah, it was a good little pistol. I think
Got
they
a
made
holster
them
for
in
that
9
thing?
mil too. I think it
So
was built
they
around.
got a holster for that thing?
Yeah, that'd be the tough part, eh? Or a holster with that magazine on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting little gun. I thought that'd be something to kind of look at, and I like the idea of it's got that weird horseshoe magazine, and it doesn't actually attach to the front of the barrel, right? That's just a little stirrup. What the heck is? How can we be having that? That's gone.
What? Take cover. Do people even remember that before the warning that there used to actually just be fire? There was just enemy fire coming at you. So today we're having another, what are we calling it? The daily tactical pop quiz.
Throwback pop quiz.
Back going forward. We're off to the new things. This is a Friday. When's the last time we had a pop quiz on a Friday?
That's true.
What happened?
Well, if it is a daily tactical pop quiz, then I mean probably last Friday. But
Well, that's true. There we go. So today it will be a visual tactical pop quiz, which means you got to turn your monitors on if you're not watching.
New one, new, something new.
What?
It's something new. We haven't done this in a while.
No, we have not. So what we're looking at here is a thing. And the first one, you guys watching? First one to describe accurately what it is going to win the tactical pop quiz of the day. You guys got the answer there now? It's in the side chat. So
I was just going to ask for was what's the answer?
Do we got anybody answering yet, or any kind of response yet? I know there's a lag, but that's too bad for you because you got 33 seconds. As soon as this clock ends, you're done.
Oh, that's tough. Oh. Bit more detail.
Not getting any
15 seconds. 15 seconds. Are they just sleeping? Are they snoozing?
The only thing I see is 1919 is the only like actual guess.
Oh,
how easy was that? That was like a softball. Getting back into it, just tossed it to them, and they just sat there watching it hit the ground, I guess. Nothing? Nobody? No.
There's the answer. Pants said it.
I lost all my screens. What happened to all my screens?
I don't know. I'm seeing some donut things, though.
Ooh. There. I'm screen sharing and trying to find all my other windows. Okay, I guess I lost them. So, who was our winner? Or we didn't have a winner.
Never enough ammo.
Well, I mean, Pants answered the thing once you zoomed all the way out, but I guess the song was over by then.
Yeah. So this time, the way it was working is you had 33 seconds, the amount of time the song ran, to answer that question, and I zoomed out, and nobody got it. So we'll play around with that. It might not have been super smooth, but welcome to our show. We will get my windows back open here so we can keep going. So that was what? I even lost the spreadsheet. What happened here? I must have clicked the wrong button. I'll find them all after the show, hidden in some corner of the desktop somewhere. All right, so nobody's checking them off. Somebody's got to take the job of doing DanO stuff here. What's going on? I don't know where we're at. DanO did all kinds of stuff that we don't have happening right now.
All right. Well, why don't we talk about the gun history?
Okay, did you find any gun history? Because I didn't.
No, not me, no.
So let's talk about a thing that we don't really have.
Well, I'm going to go over and look at guncalendars.com because that's our gun.
Oh, yeah, that was something I was going to mention. I saw your video on that. That's really cool. So
did that video? Well, didn't I show that video in here already?
I might not have been here that day.
Bob, did I show the gun?
I saw that video for the first time on YouTube. Actually, earlier today, I was just scrolling through old stuff and I clicked on it.
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing it.
Okay, well then that'll be our gun history. I'm going to go look over here real quick. Nathaniel Bacon leads an uprising against governor or somebody at Jamestown, Virginia, resulting in the settlement being burned to the ground. Bacon's rebellion came in response to the governor's repeated refusal to defend the colonists against the Indians.
Aaron Burr was arrested for a plot to establish a southern empire in Louisiana and Mexico.
I heard that
I heard that Aaron Burr died a couple years ago.
Aaron Burr died a couple years ago because he was arrested in 1807.
Oh no, this was a woman that.
Let's see. In
used to be in Happy Days.
1882, the first Labor Day is observed in New York City by Carpenters and Joiners Union. Then in 1894, an act of Congress, Labor Day is declared a national holiday. Today in 1904, Helen Keller graduated from college. Deaf and blind, right?
I heard she played a mean pinball.
Well, but 1904. So I think that's pretty cool. Since 1904, people that have had, that situation have been able to succeed, and it's kind of neat. Not quite our lifetimes, but really cool time.
This one's interesting. In 1979, the U.S. spaceship Pioneer 11 makes its first ever flyby of Saturn.
Yep. And something's about to die up there, isn't it? Something's running out of batteries. They're going to drop it into Saturn, I think.
I thought they already did that.
I think they already did that.
Oh, okay.
But that was the thing. It was supposed to like orbit or whatever for like 3 years, and instead it was up there for, I don't know, like 15 years or something. Like I don't know. I'm into space, but I always get stuff confused. But I know that there's been a couple of spaceships that they built it for one specific thing, and they're like, okay, well, it's still working, so let's do a bunch of other stuff with it.
Yeah. Well, that's happened with a lot of shit out in space. It's amazing. Like, look at those Mars rovers. 6-month mission, they're still going like 15 years later.
Well, Voyager was like that when it flew by Pluto, because that was only going to go to Jupiter or whatever, and then it kept going.
And now it's actually left the solar system.
But anyways, back to the history thing. This one's interesting. In 1998, on National Day, Vietnam releases 5,000 prisoners, including political dissidents.
In this day in history, earlier today on Early Watch, Jimmy was talking shit about John Wayne never holding a Thompson, and I was able to find this archival footage of his Western World War II movie, where obviously he's holding a Thompson.
Yeah, that doesn't look photoshopped at all.
Proof right there.
Yep.
Oh, there's got to be pictures of the Duke holding a Thompson. He did so many World War II movies.
There's a movie, the cover of the book or the cover of the movie thing or the poster or whatever has them. Jimmy's convinced.
For sure.
I was just being a smart ass.
We should probably do precious metals for gun guys, though. I don't know why I knocked that out. We haven't even done that topic yet.
Lead.
Yeah. That's about what we're going to say, right? Because we're an hour and a half in. Should we keep doing it or should we end it? Let us know.
All I want to mention on precious metals, I'm not ragging on them. I'm not necessarily for or against them or anything. However, the people that think in a true end of the world, like zombies and all, like the whole world's dying, if you think lugging around 50 pounds of gold is going to make you the richest man in the world, you're ridiculous. Because at that point, people are going to want food and water and ammo and whatever else you got. And they're not going to give a crap about some gold eagle coin. As cool as it is, you should have useful stuff.
Yeah,
So brass and lead is more useful.
What?
Brick of 22 rimfire is going to be a lot more useful than gold.
I'm talking full on, like, probably never going to happen type end of the world stuff. I understand in regular crises.
Oh, no, I'm saying situations too. I mean, I guess we're talking about what kind of resources a person has to prep or whatever. But if you've got significant resources and you can bury bars of gold, I think you should bury bars of gold. They don't corrode. They have high density value, right? Their density to size value is dense or whatever how you ever say that. Like you can't beat the bang for the buck. Go bury a bunch of bars of gold. Then when the economy comes back, your wealth survived through the dip. So I hear what you're saying, like in the moment during the crisis, I think rings and ammo, like Bob's saying, of course, maybe even knives. Nobody ever talks about just having a bunch of knives because as people use and break or lose their knives, they probably would appreciate a working knife and not some junky kitchen knife they find. But as far as if you've got significant resources and you're looking for ways to hedge against a really, really bad time, then I think precious metals exist for that reason. They live physically through hard times. You know, they're resilient. They don't rust. Well, gold don't. But I'm still going to say brass and lead.
So, anyways, for further discussion, I guess go ask HBS what he thinks.
Bitcoins.
You can have a nice good 2-hour conversation about it.
Yep, everybody's saying.
Well, yeah, he does he likes the cryptocurrency as well, which I don't get either, but that's fine. But yeah, he's a big precious metal guy.
Yep. Yeah, personally, I'm just going to stick with ammo.
Speaking of hoarding ammo, this is completely unrelated, but what the heck, I don't care. There's a sale this weekend at Freedom Munitions. If you buy 5,000 rounds of any type of ammo, you can get an AR for $250. So why not stock up on a bunch of ammo and get yourself an AR? I think that's a pretty good deal.
Oh, that's cheap, yeah. $250, I'd pay that for an AR.
You got to buy 5,000 rounds of ammo first, which is where they're obviously making their money, and they're losing.
So what, I mean, yeah, that's
what AR
for ammo.
It looked just like a, whatever, like the most basic model type thing. I don't know what type it was, but it just had all the whatever basic furniture and stuff.
Goes bang when you shoot it. That's all that counts. I mean, it's just for shooting gophers anyway.
But anyways, stock up on that ammo then. That's precious metals.
There you go. It truly is when you think about it.
So how about ammo cans, which are made out of steel? A lot of people buy ammo. They leave in little stupid paper, cardboard crap that it comes in. They maybe put it in Tupperware and put it on their shelves, or they just leave it in the cardboard boxes and stack it on shelves. Doesn't lend itself to being taken out and moved or hidden or buried or anything, weather-ish. And just even carrying it around or whatever. So what do you think about investing in some metal storage?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things I need to get more of. I only actually have a couple of ammo cans. Well, that's something every time I'm in my gun room, I look over at my shelf. I do exactly what you said. I got just boxes sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, I always put mine in big steel boxes, like big ones the size of a steamer trunk. But
so you can't move it anywhere easily.
no, Well, and that way I can lock it up securely, which you kind of have to do here. But the thing is, nobody's ever going to steal it because you can't get it open, and there's no freaking way two people could ever move it.
They talking like a drop box or like the thing they'll put it like a baseball field for like all the little league to put their shit in.
Yeah, but steal.
Well, what do you think I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know what they do, but down here there's like job boxes where guys will put their tools or stuff in it and leave it on the jobs.
That kind of thing, yeah. Except mine were custom made, but yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome, dude. I should get my hands on a job box. When I'm in Fort Wayne next week, I'm going to see if I can wheel one out of the plant.
I was told to paint this one.
And just remember, I'm not saying steal. I work with company, and a lot of times they buy a bunch of crap, and then it's easier just to get rid of it at the end of the job.
Yeah.
Like I heard they were complaining the other day, they shipped down a bunch of picnic tables, and they're like, dude, with the gas and using up a whole truck, instead of shipping material, you shipped us a bunch of picnic tables for the job. Like, we could have just bought them locally and then just left them here when we were done.
Yeah.
Those were like $500 picnic tables each when you add it all up. Anyway,
the government doing forest fires, they would just drop all their shit. When you're done, you just dropped all your shit and walked away, because that way they could buy all new shit again. And it's very similar to the Army in a lot of ways, that when it's that fiscal year time in the Army, you just shed your stuff. It just gets thrown away. It's ridiculous. Really depressing. And the same way, I got a bunch of tools and stuff from the Forest Service that just drop all their stuff after fires.
Yeah, well, that's one of the, that's because of the way they budget, right? They have a yearly budget, and they never want to take the chance on going, no, we don't need to buy new shovels this year because we've still got ones from last year.
And
well, that's the problem. You get penalized.
The next district over is also doing the same thing, and they know that everybody else is doing it, so the third district is doing the same thing. So they all are doing it only because they're afraid that the other ones are doing it.
Right.
Well, it's also if you don't spend your budget gets slashed for the next year. That's the way businesses work.
Correct. And if they don't have any incentive to be better, they only have reward for being worse.
Yep. Yeah, because if you spend your complete budget, maybe they need more money.
All right. Well, anyway, so that's interesting that companies do that too. But I guess, like you say, it makes sense. If you have to do if you need a certain amount of infrastructure and you don't need it anymore, then then give it to your people, because they're just throwing it away. Or maybe somebody should come along and rent that stuff so that it doesn't have to be discarded every time.
Well, and they do that kind of stuff too. But yeah. Anyways, my point being is maybe they have an old job box that's kind of beat up. They're getting ready to get rid of it. Yep. And I'll be like, hey, that would make a good ammo box. So I kind of like that idea, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's usually they have a rubber seal too, so they're reasonably humidity proof and stuff.
When you could add something too, if it's not, just go get some weather stripping or something and put some silicone caulk or something.
Yeah, I always throw those desiccant bags in there so it keeps sucks the humidity out. Works good. Like for your long-term stuff. Like that's the stuff you're not going to use. That's your zombie apocalypse ammo.
Right. Well, I try and store stuff and then just rotate through it.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Here. So
you rotate through.
Like so stockpile ammo, but I also just try and use the older stuff first.
Yeah.
And then I put newer stuff in the containers that the older stuff came out of. Like I said, I do want to get some more ammo cans.
I just keep my stuff forever, and then when it gets really, really old, I donate it to worthy causes like gun websites or something.
That's what he says, or that's what he means when he just leaves a bunch of ammo here, doesn't feel like driving home with. He's like, this all better be here. I counted it. I donated it.
That's not true.
Somebody needs to mute her. We got to get our levels, because I think it just might be that Smeggy is loud, and that's why, because it doesn't seem to echo when I'm saying stuff through Bob's, but it does seem to echo when Smeggy's saying it. So I think it's like a combo effect, or what's it? Mandela effect?
Butterfly effect?
Mandela.
I can try and not get so excited. Did that not echo as much? I guess I was talking loudly because I was trying to not be interrupted 7 times by Bob.
No, that's where you made a mistake, because Bob's going to interrupt. It's just going to happen, Smeggy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just ask good guy with a gun.
Are you trying to good guy, Smeggy? All right, well, so what should we do next then?
I don't know. I don't think we've got a whole lot left, do we?
I keep closing the spreadsheet here. That was our precious metals. We did the gun of the day. We did a gun shop of the day, kind of. We talked about what's coming up later on the show, or later on the evening.
What? We are
Unprecedented.
now, DanO.
No way. Somebody's been drinking.
I feel sorry for the audience because they didn't win nothing before. So we're gonna flip over to the screen. It's gonna be another visual. You don't get out of it. It's still visual. It's for the gun channel side and the YouTube side. Both are eligible. And the first one to correctly identify which store I'm looking at on this screen here.
Oh, tough one.
In the time that the countdown comes out, if I can ever find the countdown, which is 33 seconds approximately, then you win. So you guys watching?
Yeah, I don't know the answer. Is it Moss Pond?
Not Moss Pond. I put it in the thing. Whoops. I put it in the chat.
Definitely a pawn shop.
I doubt it's Kmart, but I'll just read that off anyways.
Anything?
We had 2 different guesses for Moss Pond and a Kmart.
Too bad. The video is up. We talked about it on the show already. That was a gun shop called The Hub in Arizona. I don't remember what town. Lakeside? No. Yeah, Lakeside. So up in the ski district and Springerville. Yep. Enrique knew it. So yeah, that's we're not gonna do the same old tactical pop quizzes. You got to get up off your asses and start remembering some stuff and get ready to hustle, because you ain't getting all kinds of time to fart around and check out your Googles. Ponder ain't gonna be winning this one with his brains and his knowledges.
No more abbreviated answers.
Yeah.
So maybe two. I feel like we gave them 2 opportunities today. I'm stretching the show out, trying to make opportunities happen here. So what are we saying about Monday? Switching the time? Everybody down?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
We're switching the time of the show. So I hope this isn't going to piss too many people off. And if it does, I apologize. But, we got to keep innovating, diving when they're punching, and slicing when they're doing something, and then shooting when
When they punch, we take a dive.
Right. Well, we're not taking no dives. When they punch, we're going to shoot. So we're moving to noon. We were noon Pacific before. We're going to go to noon Eastern. So that'll be hopefully easier for people to deal with. Noon Eastern will make it, except for Jimmy. He did make it easier for Jimmy. So anyway, noon Eastern will be 9 Pacific. So it'll basically be a morning show now. It'll be, your lunchtime show. So perhaps we'll get some people in lunchtime back east. Perhaps we'll get some people in on their way in or at work in the mornings on the West Coast, and we'll run for a while that way. We're going to brand it. So we'll be putting up new art and, posting it around. So we're not going to do it for a week or 2. We'll do it for a significant length of time. Some of the decision process was, as I've been driving around and Bob's been driving around and having to stop during the day to do the show, we're encountering one, we forget what time it is because we're driving, or it's, we're somewhere where it's not opportune. We think we can stop in 15 minutes and it turns out to be 35 minutes or something. The other is if we can start in the morning, it's more better for weather, I think, to be able to get up, do stuff while it's cool, while it's still hot like this, and then or when it gets hot again. The idea would be get up, do stuff while it's cool, and then do the show, and then get on the road and do the traveling in the car while the AC is going, and not do the show in the car when the car's parked and there's no AC going. Let's see. So that's 11, or it'd be noon Eastern. That'll make it 11 a.m. Central. That'll make it 10 a.m. Mountain. That'll make it 9 a.m. Eastern. So I'm hoping that everybody who's listening live can join us over there, but I'm sure some of you aren't going to be able to. I do apologize for that. We will put an effort towards putting it back on iTunes, though, starting Monday. So we'll put some of the best ofs. We'll put DanO's last show up there today. Bob's last show we'll put up there, and some of the other highlights from the series. And then going forward, we'll start putting them up on iTunes so that people can get them. And like I said, we do want to keep pushing at iTunes again since we're doing all this.
Well, you're joking around with Bob's last show.
It is Meg's last show.
It'll be my last show where I'm regularly on.
Yeah, and that's the shitty part, is that Smeggy's works, right? So he's got a real job. So he isn't going to be able to join us for the noon on a regular. We'll continue to call in and say that he was rude and he touched us in our bathing suit areas and other things, so that hopefully he'll be able to join us. But until then, we'll only have Smeggy like on holidays and, you know, when he calls in sick, I guess. Oh, he muted. So I don't know if he knows he's muted. So again, we're just going through a transition period. I'm going to be on the road.
I'm muted, huh?
Sorry, Smeggy.
Oh, they're having a mute war over here.
See, and the problem is I'm watching the chat, so I'm not even looking at the Hangout.
So I'm thinking that you know, we'll have Smeggy whenever you're not, you know, because of the way you're working, at least every once in a while you're on the road and you have a alternate schedule than normal 9 to 5. And then we'll also try to do some supplemental things. We're going to be working with Jimmy and the other guys doing the earlier shows and figuring out our schedule with those guys. And then I'm going to try to figure out a way to do stuff over onto the weekends too, so we can truly say we're a daily gun show. So if you're interested, we do need new DanO. We could use a new Z, we could use a new Smeggy, we could use a new Bob and a new Jimmy and a new me. So if you want to be part of the show, none of us are crucial except for me and Bob because we're the originals, but everybody else is replaceable, and we can add to it. So yeah, it's going to be different here for a bit, and hopefully it's still interesting. I'm going to be out driving around and looking at gun shops every day, looking at gun shows when I can on weekends. I can't quite, it's a tough one. I can't quite afford to set up at every gun show and get to gun shows, which is a catch-22 because I don't make any money unless I'm set up at a gun show to sell stuff. So I will continue to effort towards figuring out how to make this concept financially viable. And thanks to Bob and Jimmy and Smeggy for everybody's flexibility, DanO and Z as well for their time and efforts in it. And everybody who's listening, again, I know we're kind of yanking it around. Hopefully we don't yank it around too much. This is our third major shift in time slot. But some of the other reasons where Jimmy and I were talking about it recently here, he's trying to do a really long 6-hour show. And he's got the ambition and the interest, and he does the show. But it's tough. I mean, it's tough for us, you've seen, to do a 60 to 90-minute show. And to fill that much time is difficult. So by moving our show to noon, it doesn't really physically allow him to do a long show. I think you're talking about still doing an early show. Then Jimmy will be part of our show here. That gives somebody an opportunity to do a show after ours. If that's Ponnery, if he's able to do it, that'd be great. Otherwise, if somebody else wants to jump in and do an after show, you're welcome to. If somebody wants to host a lobby during the afternoon, you're always welcome to over on Gun Channels. If somebody's doing an existing podcast out there and you'd like to incorporate it into the Gun Channel schedule, you're always welcome to. But now I feel like we're moving our show forward. We're opening up kind of an early primetime slot for anybody that wants to jump in there. I was on Hank Strange's show a while back. I'm going to see if he wants to jump over to Gun Channels and explore the idea of having his show on there on the regular. And we're going to be efforting towards getting other content creators over to fill in some of the primetime slots. And again, by moving our show, we're giving them some room over there. I'm also hoping that by doing our show in the morning, like when we started the show, we wanted to do it in that noon time slot to get the Gun Channel's website live during the day. And it worked better than we could have ever hoped. We got Jimmy, we got Tony, we got Ponnery, all jumping in and putting serious effort. Night Strike jumps in there a lot, angry. everybody that jumps in and participates has made it awesome, not just for you guys who actually do it on the regular, but try to think about how many people come in and hang out on the, what would you call, like almost regular, and then the people that just come in once in a while. We're creating a place where they know they can come to learn about gun stuff. And in the boring parts, when it's not that interesting, you guys are putting in the real work, because when it's necessary, if we ever have, hopefully we won't, but if we ever have a 2013 again, you guys are putting in the initial in the path that will be that has become the trail that will be the highways of information flow. So you guys are doing the important cutting the groundwork for what, if we ever need it, will be the canyon that, you know, information that'll flow through. And hopefully we're putting it down in a good strategic way so that the canyons that get developed from our efforts here as Pathfinders are efficient and useful, both in getting information out there and being a deterrent from those fuckers making good headway. So we're trying to build stuff that has point use and entertaining along the way. All right, so again, Ponnery, sorry you weren't really in on all this. Tony, same. Hopefully you guys will be flexible with us. You guys kind of came in and were flexible with the whole thing now, so I'm assuming you guys will. We'll get together with anybody that needs to individually to work with any kind of schedule issues or anything. And again, anyone wants to join in on this show or the other shows, I'm assuming you guys don't mind having people come in. You can always contact us at dailygunshow@gmail.com or me directly at gunwebsites@gmail.com. I don't know if any of you guys have emails that you want to put out there for contact.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I got the earlywatchaz@gmail.com, and I'd like to try and hopefully get with, I kind of sort of talked about it earlier today on the Early Watch, but I'd kind of like to get with Tony and Sean this weekend if they have the opportunity to maybe figure some stuff out. But I'm thinking probably start it at around 6 or 6:30 on the West Coast, 9 or 9:30 on the East Coast, and 8 or 8:30 in Central. That's what I'm thinking right now, but that might change. So I don't know. Well, I'll be around on the weekend on gun channels and try to announce it.
Cool. Smeggy saying you might be able to chime in on lunch and stuff. And see that would work out perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if anybody wants to like get hold of just me, best way is just go to my YouTube channel. It's BikerBob59, and yeah, just comment on one of my videos or something like that, because I usually get some kind of announcement they tell me.
Or if you just go to Canadian border crossing and ask for Bob.
They mostly know me in the Western ones.
Okay, so
if I get 200 more subscribers, I can get super chats.
Right on. Well, it's a good achievement, but remember, Super Chat is 17%. I should make it a T-shirt or something. Super Chat is 17%.
That's worse than some credit cards.
It's usury. There's laws against it in some places, but except that they're creating a platform that is impossible for anyone to duplicate, and then letting you have financial income from it.
That
so
is true.
I guess it's okay. Pants is saying the best Bob is carrier pigeon. That might work, except Bob would eat it and you wouldn't get your pigeon back.
And it would freeze to death, so you need
Oh, we have pigeons up here in the summer.
Yeah, that's a better one. Get a Canadian goose. You got to catch it, in the winter time, and then tie your message to it, and it will come back to him in the summertime. But you won't get a reply until the following winter.
Yeah, that's right. And it won't be the same goose because I'll have eaten the one you sent.
Well, yeah, but I mean, all gooses are the same, so just pick any old one.
Yeah. Just look for a white one. That's a snow geese.
Well, we should also mention that another way you can get in contact with the show would be through our Patreon. We do have a Patreon over there. We don't want to ignore everybody. One of the reasons of bringing Jimmy on board, or kind of incorporating the show, it's not like we're bringing you on board. You've been doing your own show for a damn long time. But we're going to kind of merge the shows a bit, is to join resources. And some of the resources that we're going to try to address or devote some of those resources to things like the iTunes and to getting the podcast up there on the regular, or at least the best ofs. We don't get enough response from iTunes in the past to go 100% into it. I don't want to waste people's time asking them to do something that has no use. But we will start putting at least some best ofs up there at least once or twice a week to see if we can get some response. We'll let people know it's there. You know, it is, again, an effort to see what kind of week. Yeah, exactly. And then again, we'll be working more with Patreon. I really do, as I've been looking more and more at Patreon, you know, those numbers just are incredible. You got 50,000 people creating content over there. You've got 1 million people watching and paying for the content, probably a lot more people than that watching it, but 1 million people paying for content, and that 1 million people are going to spend $150 million this year. So that's more than $10,000 or $10 million a month that's going out to 50,000 people creating content. If you're interested in monetizing your efforts, I'd consider getting over to Patreon, or at least watch some of the people over there, because I think it's going to have some potential. Can't see the future, but it definitely looks like there's some potential over there. So we're going to devote more time to it. I'm hoping to use the Patreon as a way to leave money as I go to these gun shops. That kind of developed when I went to Albuquerque this last time. The concept of leaving money behind when I drop into a gun shop. Hopefully people will take me up on that and move some of their money. I know some of y'all, you know, money's different to all of us. You know, me, I'm debating if I should buy a $300 laptop or a $600 laptop, because they're both going on a credit card, you know, and other people are worried about if they're going to buy the $600 cup holder in their new car. So, you know, I mean, everybody's money's different to everybody. So if that's something that we can move, you know, be the facilitator of moving $50, which might be a coffee to somebody, to a gun shop, where that's, you know, paying my employee today, that's pretty cool. So I'm hoping that that catches on, and we're going to use Patreon for that kind of thing. And with Jimmy and everybody, we're going to try to do some stuff to help people brand their stuff, their channels and things. So stay tuned for lots of new stuff and different ways of doing it. So not just more of the same. We're going to play around a little bit. This is a good time to kind of experiment before the end of the year, when you know, everybody gets busy, and usually we start seeing more viewers and stuff like that. So we'll kind of get our shit together with the new format, so that we can run it through the holiday season into the SHOT Show, where, you know, we've got their new way of doing it down. Mm-hmm. We also got Glocktober coming up. If anybody has ideas for Glocktober art, feel free to contact us in one way, whichever way you want, and we will be happy about that. And I don't know, is there anything else from you guys? No. It's Labor Day, so I guess thank you for laboring.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? It's the workers who built the whole country, built the world, basically. It wasn't the money, like, you know, it was the workers.
I feel like it was our lawmakers that made the laws that allowed the corporations to hire the workers, and the workers are just there.
Yeah.
I feel like it was computers.
That's an interesting one.
I, for one, would like to welcome our new robot overlords.
I, for one, would like to say, screw you, Skynet. You're never going to take me alive.
Well,
that's true for most anything that's going to happen a week from now.
All right. Well,
I'm not scared of Skynet.
I think with that, we're done for the week. Hopefully, we'll see some people back next week, and all of you back in, you know, time warp if you're listening to the show at this time next week. And anybody again that has any way to improve the show or whatever, feel free to contact us at the email dailygunshow@gmail.com or on Patreon.
For sure. Well,
so we mentioned then what's going on this weekend or tonight, gun channels tonight and whatnot.
What is going on tonight, Smeggy?
Go ahead.
Well, I would believe Edge of the Week should be on later tonight. Clover Tack does a thing on Fridays. And I'm not sure if there's any other Friday night stuff other than just the lobby. But I know on the weekend, so Saturday morning, there's Caliber Corners with Travis P11. And then we're going to have Every Second Matters, which I think is very important. Everyone should tune into that. And I guess we're aiming for noonish. And I say ish because I know myself. And we got Rick's Life as I See It at 3 o'clock. on Saturday. I don't know, Yankee and Matt do their morning coffee things Saturday and Sunday morning or whatever. I don't keep up on that. But those things exist. If you like them, you know what time it is. And do I miss anything else for the weekend?
Yep, Yoder, Texas does. He posts "Come and Talk It," a radio show out of Texas, and they don't post it because it's a radio show. It's like when Liberty Watch was on. So he posts a link to the radio show website where you can listen live, and I'll listen to that whenever I have a chance because it's a pretty decent gun-related show.
Sounds good.
Rick's Life is Saturday too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said Rick's
3 o'clock Eastern.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll be back here on Monday at noon Eastern. Noon Eastern. New time slot. We're doing the daytime thing.
Monday morning, noon Eastern. Monday morning, noon Eastern. Monday morning, new Eastern.
New Easter?
New Easter.
Yeah, yeah. There's a new Easter now, not that stupid old one with all the bunnies and stuff.
What does that mean? Does that mean Jesus has returned to the earth?
No, it's a new Easter. It's a totally different thing.
That's what I mean. It's a new one.
Anyways, watch our daily show.
Okay,
Darn it.
Thanks. So now we're going to be on during the day at noon Eastern, 10 Central, 9 Mountain. No. Noon Eastern, 11 Central, 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific. So again, I guess goodbye to some of the people that can't listen during that time of the day. At least goodbye to the live part. Hopefully you'll be there for the shows as they go up on YouTube. We'll also be exploring and attempting to cut out or cookie cutter out some of the good parts of the show, some of the best of, and start posting those as supplements. You don't have to pay anything for them. You don't have to go anywhere. We're just going to post them as extras so that they're, consumable. You don't have to listen to the whole show to hear about, Bob being wrong about holsters or something. You can just get that 3 minutes of him being wrong, boom, and then use it as an example for somebody. Don't do it.
Well, that's not going to be very often, is it? Right? If it's going to just be posts about me being wrong, it'll be like what?
We'll also do
Almost
the
never.
We'll do the one where you're correct also.
Yeah, I thought you said you didn't want to just do the whole. You didn't have to listen to the whole show. If it's Bob being wrong, you have to listen to the whole show.
Shut up, Smeggy. I want to mute you again.
Well, that's fine. I'm about ready to stop talking. So, everyone, have a good day. You go, Pep.
All right. Well, with those last words from the snowman. Wait, there was a
not
fucker
muted.
named Snowman, wasn't there? There's some guy who had a thing for a little beagle dog or a
Jesus Christ! I hope I'm not
I
muted.
don't know. Anyway, so let's end this show. We always end with a quote. This one's by Ronald Reagan, so it's quite appropriate for today, and what we were talking about earlier, at least some of it. One thing I do want to say before we go is, as I always do, please like, share, subscribe. And if you can support us on Patreon, great, man. We'd love it. We're, like I say, G's going to be out on the road right away. I'm going to be out on the road in another couple of months for the winter. So, keep support coming and keep comments coming. Let us know that somebody cares that we're doing this shit. So on that note, let's run our quote. And like I say, it's Ronald Reagan. One way to make sure.
That's right there, Bob, because you made a great point.
Jesus, every time.
Yeah, you made a great point there at the end there when you said that we'd appreciate some feedback so that we know that we're telling this to people who appreciate it, that there are people on the other end of this computer that we're talking into. But I can tell you in real life, Jimmy was there. When the Scottsdale Gun Club was a big place with many customers and many employees. And they were nice and everything. The second gun shop we went to was called, I know it's
True Guns?
True Guns. And the owner, or one of the owners, their employee, nobody, wasteland. We walk in, that's all they have to talk to. We talk to them for a little while. I mean, their eyes light up when we talk to them about what we're doing. They think it's great. So we understand, we know that the gun shops are digging it so far. And I expect they're going to dig it as we go along and do this. We're going to effort as much as we can to make it worth, our while, as far as, in the while of the shops for letting us take their time to put stuff on the website, talk about them here on this show, put videos up to get like 3 times the coverage every time we go to a shop, and then archive it so that it's searchable and findable, you know, so that it's got tags and stuff, so that it's useful for them to help get their word out about their shop. So we know that they're digging it. What we don't know is if there's an audience. We know that we've only got a certain amount of people that watch us on the regular, and we appreciate that a lot, but it hasn't grown. And you know, we've got to do something to try to test the water. So we do appreciate everybody being flexible, and do see some of the comments are saying that people aren't going to be able to be live with us. When we did, you know, I'm kind of repeating, but when we did this last time around, we did the show early, it created a whole new gun channels. So I'm hoping that if, you know, we can go back to that, well, we can stir things up a little bit, give those morning shows that are doing 6-hour shows on the daily, give them a little break, and then create a gap in the middle of the day where there's like a wake, there's a spot for people who are creating new content to come in and take an hour slot or take an hour here and there. And well, again, thanks everybody for being flexible with us and supportive. And please let us know when you're out, where you are when you're out there. It helps in the long run, but it also helps just us to keep at it every day.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, it's cool for us to know that that people from all over the country are listening to us, not just, you know, here or here, right? We want to know where you're from. We want to know, you know, that what we're putting out is entertainment. Or
we want to know your store number.
All right, so let's finish this thing up. Ronald Reagan. One way to make sure crime doesn't pay would be to let the government run it. And on that cheery note, thanks everybody for watching and listening, and we'll catch you again on Monday.
The guys and gals at GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.